I shared a tongue-in-cheek post on Facebook about throwing Turkey and Israel out of the Eurovision Song Contest because they both have atrocious human rights records and occupy other people's countries. And it wasn't really anything serious, but it was bound to piss off a few people. And I got some interesting responses. I want to go through some of them with you. One individual who I won't give away his identity, but he seems to be an American man. I think he's a man. We mustn't assume people's gender. Yeah, he's from Miami, this individual, and he said, no Jews live in Gaza after 2005, yet the PLO buy rockets and build tunnels versus schools and hospitals with the millions they receive from us every year. You are clueless / spreader of false propaganda. That's the worst type of propaganda, isn't it? False one. You are part of the problem. Right. So, no Jews live in Gaza. He's talking about the fact that in 2005, the illegal settlements that had been built in Gaza illegally since 1967, when the Israelis conquered the territory. Well, those settlements were dismantled in 2005, and all the Jewish settlers that had been living there illegally went to live in the West Bank illegally. So this great concession was kind of like a magician's trick, where the illegal settlers just moved from one part of occupied Palestine to another part of Palestine. So that's what he's referencing there about the 2005. Yet the PLO buy rockets and build, what did he say? And build tunnels. I thought you kind of dig tunnels, don't you, rather than build them. So they're building tunnels and buying rockets. Now, he said the PLO. He obviously meant Hamas. The PLO are not in Gaza, they're not in control of Gaza. It's Hamas over there. So I did respond to him. He came back at me. Your lack of research leads you to make false statements. Right. What amazes me is that you know very little on this subject. I've hardly said much yet. Why is that amazing him? They wanted land for peace and got it. You can tell he's kind of quoting throwaway lines of propaganda that he's heard elsewhere, kind of like catchphrases. Say what you see. Just to use the land, Gaza, to launch missiles. Perhaps I'll acquire land next to you and start lobbing missiles and rockets at your house. I'll expect you to just sit back and do nothing while I destroy your home and family. What say you? And of course, the people in Gaza, 70% of them, their actual homes are in what is now Israel. And they've been living as refugees since they were pushed out of those homes and somebody else is in their house. So the people are firing rockets towards buildings that they still own the keys to, often. Neither side is innocent, I will grant you that. Thanks for granting me that. And I did point out, but the PLO are not in control of Gaza. You're thinking of Hamas. And he found that funny. PLO and Hamas are one in the same. Lol. And then I pointed out to him that a quick Google search had brought me the following result. Hamas, the largest representative of the inhabitants of the Palestinian territories, alongside Fatah, is not represented in the PLO at all. And I said, if you admit you're incorrect, I'll respect you for it. And his response was, it's like saying that the Iranian government and Hamas are different. In names only. Lol again. Iran provides Hamas with funding and weapons, different names, same money, sources and strategy to fool the masses. So he's completely confused this gentleman. He's heard that Joe Biden, whom he obviously hates, he's obviously a Trump fan, and because Trump was forced and coerced into pledging loyalty and support for Israel, which he never really made much of an effort towards in his early days, because he was brought around to that idea. This guy obviously thinks that, well, Trump, has done the right thing, and he's got confused by the fact that the Biden administration are beginning again to give aid to the Palestinians, which will end up in the hands of the PA, the Palestinian Authority, who run the West Bank, who are Fatah and the PLO, who are not Hamas. And I've said it before, most of the aid from America that ends up in the hands of the Palestinians, for example, USA Aid, and I've seen the massive signs bragging about how generous they've been, are actually used to, for example, create roads that circumnavigate the illegal settlements that you find the West Bank is riddled with. So they're actually just facilitating and helping to perpetuate the ongoing occupation. So that's what the money being given to the Palestinians is doing. It's not going to Hamas, who run the Gaza Strip. I pointed out a few mistakes he'd made. I said the example of the Iranian government being the same as Hamas because they support them. The Iranian government aren't Hamas's rival. The PLO and Hamas are rivals. That's why it was very ignorant of him to conflate the two. He came back again with more lols. Please provide some factual evidence that backs up your delusion. I can find tons that support mine. Care to read it? And you skirt the real issue that I alluded to. Give them land for peace and they shoot rockets from said land. Nice try. Liberal tactics are a waste of time with me. Stay focused, Junior. So he's obviously American. He obviously sees everything through his American glasses, if you like, and he's starting to call me a liberal. I'm not a liberal, whatever a liberal means, but they're very sort of black and white. And because he's a Trump fan and Trump supported Israel, and because he's heard that Biden's given this aid to Palestine, to be the president of America, you have to support Israel. You will not get there unless you support Israel. They're America's greatest ally in the Middle East, apparently. And he sent me something to read from the Atlantic. And funny enough, the title was actually "What Makes Hamas Different Than the PLO?" So the clue is in the title. They are different, but he's conflating them. And then because I'd mentioned to him that I'd done a Google search very quickly to throw up the fact that Hamas and PLO are two very different organisations, he wrote, "Bah ha 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 ha." Oh my God. I don't know how many ha ha ha's that is, but plenty to fill up half a paragraph. I wouldn't use Google to search for anything. Filtered and suppressed. Now I know why you are ignorant. Try DuckDuckGo.com. Nice little plug there. I mean, it wouldn't matter which search engine you used. You're never going to find one that will tell you Hamas and PLO are part of the same organisation, because they're not. They're rivals. You can ask anyone. You can ask Hamas. You can ask Bibi Netanyahu. You can ask anyone you like, and they'll tell you, apart from this individual. So he thinks that because I use Google, this is where we're getting into the realm of tinfoil hat conspiracy. They're all against us, borderline flat earther types here. Oh, you've used the wrong search engine. I get it. I know that Google as an organisation has its biases. I'm talking to you now on YouTube. It's owned by Google, and I have to be careful what I say. But that doesn't mean that every item that you search for is somehow going to be incorrect because you used the Google search engine. And again, he started talking about where did you receive your PhD in Middle Eastern Studies? You must have one. You portray to be smarter than the folks who wrote the articles and supply the factual basis. You're just another snowflake lib, high on emotion and low on fact. No worries, your echo chamber of sheep emoticon will always love you. Yeah, so again, he's repeating these mantras. You're a sheep. I did ask him which findings did he mean, and I believe that what has happened in Palestine cannot be justified. You believe it can. It's often, very often, more just a difference of opinion about whether the situation is justified rather than the facts on the ground. We know the facts on the ground. We know there's an illegal occupation going on. We know that civilian population is being transferred into war-won land, which is a war crime, not in the Gaza Strip, in the West Bank. But Gaza is under an illegal blockade. It's all part of the same occupation. I did point out that I'm not from America. Phrases like snowflake lib are an American thing. They don't mean much to us over here. But were I in America, I wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden. I wouldn't have. Came back. I don't debate opinions. Waste of time. They prove nothing. I reside in a world of facts and truth, as I have demonstrated by backing up my assertions with factual articles. He's very straightforward, this guy. Very black and white. I pointed out you thought the PLO were building tunnels in Gaza. For a fan of facts, you were caught lacking there, but it was still a pleasure to communicate with you. You've always got to be polite. There's no need to be rude. And that was about it. And the final nail in the coffin. You are among the delusional sheep. The awakening process will be difficult for snowflakes like yourself. I won't hold it against you. I'll shepherd you, wrong spelling there, as Jesus commands. Right, religious nutter alert. Probably wear a mask and was first in line for the jab. So he's against the jab. The jab rollout went very well in Israel, didn't it? I think they were the most militant when it came to rolling out the jab that he's so against. Then we get to the bones of the issue, and he says Khazarian Jews are atheist Satanists. Learn the difference between Hebrews/Israelite Jews and Khazarian Jews. So the guy is actually, ironically, an anti-Semitic conspiracy theorist, which I thought the left-wing Palestine supporters were meant to be. But he's starting to talk about Khazarian satanic Jews. And he goes on, I know history. You lack much knowledge, but in turn great ignorance. Save it. Sparky, another lol. And then came the final statement, and I haven't heard back from him. I said to him, I have a YouTube channel called Lessons for Life. Would you like to debate me on there? Whoever sees it could decide for themselves. I think you would enjoy it. And you know, he'd been messaging back and forth. I comment, he comments. I comment, he comments. I left that comment over an hour ago, and he hasn't said anything. But watch this space. If he's man enough, if he comes back to me, we'll get him on the air. I think we'd enjoy it.